caused him to put Glodine's feelings, his reputation, and his relationship with God in jeopardy. He repented to God, and he knew God had forgiven him. But it was the kind of mistake that he never dreamed would dog him long after the affair ended. Glodine's words and his sense of remorse haunted him, even in his sleep, making him toss and turn, only to wake up tired and hurting in body and soul. It was only the rigorous demands of his seminary training, along with a lot of prayer and meditation on God's Word, that eased the disappointment he felt with himself. Then, to his dismay, just before his final ordination, he heard that Glodine was working in Atlanta, where she had family. She began turning up at seminary social functions, and with no more than a look, she tormented him, filling him with fear and, he had to admit it, a still glowing spark of his old desire. He managed to fend her off, but the war between his resentment at Glodine's obsession over him and those sparks she could still ignite was an agony that made him feel like he was losing his mind. And now, as graduation day approached, he had been assigned to take over the pastorship of Greater Hope Gospel United Church in Memphis, where Glodine and all of her family had gone for years. Reverend Murchison James, the pastor of Mount Nebo Gospel United Church in Charleston, Mississippi, raced over to Atlanta when Theophilus found out about his assignment, and then got up enough courage to place a desperate call to his friend and mentor, asking for help with his dilemma. Reverend James knew Glodine's family. Her aunt, Willie Mae Clayton, owned a big-time funeral home chain based in Memphis, with branches throughout the South, and he couldn't even fathom how this boy had gotten caught up with the likes of her. Where was the boy's good sense? But the more Reverend James listened, the less sympathy he felt, and the stronger his urge grew to whip Theophilus's tail until he couldn't see straight. But maybe Theophilus would learn a powerful lesson from all of this. For some time, Reverend James had been feeling that Theophilus was a little too comfortable with his flirtations with women, conduct unacceptable for a godly man and especially one who was becoming a minister. This time, Theophilus had gone farther than he was sure the young preacher had ever gone before. Not that he didn't understand the boy's needs, because he did. Happily married himself to a wonderful woman, he couldn't imagine pastoring without the love, support, and comfort of a good woman like his wife, Susie. But to seek that kind of comfort outside of your marriage was unacceptable. And as for marriage and Glodine Benson, that went beyond unacceptable. It was a mess, plain and simple. To make matters worse, it sounded like the fool still had the scent of that heifer stuck in his nose. A man didn't need to have a woman's scent branded in him like that, unless it was the right woman, a woman who would stroke your heart, soothe your soul, comfort you, and make you laugh, a woman who is your wife. Reverend James figured it was time Theophilus learned that pastoring was serious business. A lot of young seminarians never did learn that, and they got blindsided by the temptations that came with the job: liquor, money, politicking, women. Though he loved Theophilus like a son, Reverend James decided not to spare the rod. "Look here, Theophilus," he said. "You smart on most counts, but you lost your doggone mind on this one. You are just a few months shy of getting your final ordination papers, and look at you, miserable, all tore up over what? It ain't God that has you all upset. You know he done forgot about what you did as soon as you told him you were sorry. No, you tore up about a piece of tail so lethal it ought to be a military weapon. Boy, if I was your daddy, I'd knock you clean out your pastor's chair, 'cause you know better. I know you know better." Theophilus stared at the floor, having trouble looking Reverend James in the eye. He certainly didn't have anything worth hearing to say in his defense. He was searching his mind for words, but Reverend James wasn't looking for answers.